Hello and welcome back to The Road to Financial Freedom, a podcast that allows experts to share their stories and secrets to unlocking their financial independence. This podcast is brought to you by CamaPlan, a self-directed IRA administrator in Ambler, Pennsylvania, that is focused on educating investors with different ways to grow their retirement savings faster through alternative investments. And today we are recording this episode again remotely. I'm Jess Jones, CamaPlan team member and podcast host. Our guests today are the founding members of Stone Bay Holdings, LLC. They have dedicated their expertise to aiding entrepreneurs and investors in their efforts to raise capital, create passive income, and build businesses from the ground up. As experts in real estate investment and business operations, this powerhouse duo has ownership in diverse portfolios of over $150 million and have a passion for educating investors on how to better their lives. Please welcome Steve, Lloyd, and Kerry Faix to the podcast. Steve, Kerry, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us. Hello.
Thank you, Jessica. It's great to be here with you guys.
Thanks again. So let's get started. And can you both tell me some more about each of your backgrounds and where you're born, grew up, and how you got into entrepreneurship?
Steve, you always go first. I'll go after you.
Okay, ladies first. So I actually been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. I started at like 8 years old with a paper route. At 10 years old, I started working at a local pizza shop, wiping out pans. By like 11, I was working the cash register. By 16, I was actually running the pizza shop. And at 20 years old, I had bought the pizza shop. And it was kind of funny, being 20 years old owning a pizza shop. You know, all my friends were going to college and they were actually all working for me. So that was pretty cool what was going on.
That is really cool, yeah.
Yeah, it was all my friends. They were like, you know, we all went to high school, played football together. They started going to college. Some were close by. Some would come home for the holidays, and they were all working at my pizza shop. And that was really the beginning of the passion of, you know, working for myself and wanting to create more. And I did that for about 14 years and then went to a real estate meeting down in Wilmington, Delaware. It was all about, you know, real estate and apartment buildings. And so, you know, I just took a knack for that, and how I entered into it was through doing mortgages. When I left that meeting, I had actually gone back. I said I really liked it. I wanted to do something else other than pizza. Met a man there that was doing mortgages for only investors. So I knew a tremendous amount of people, and we joined forces, and that led to me buying a portfolio of maybe 12 or 13 properties when I was about 36 years old. That led to Temple University, and I built about 50 or 60 buildings there, 60, 70 million worth, and then so forth and so on. And I just had a passion for real estate and raising capital, and that was the beginning for me.
Great. And Kerry?
Right out of high school, I started working in banking and got my first job in an operations department for trust operations. And through there, I started working my way up the ranks into various different jobs. I went from Bryn Mawr Trust over to PNC in a supervisory position. And then at PNC, just kept, again, moving my way up the ranks into different departments in the operations area. And my husband was a general contractor. So in the early 90s, that was my first adult recession. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was doing fine, but he was getting laid off. So we started our own contracting business on the side, thinking it would just be short term. And little did we know, it just turned into a blooming, thriving renovating business. And we did, you know, high-end additions and kitchens and so forth. We even built 2 houses, you know, in our 30-some years of being in business. So my father had been an electrical contractor, so it was in our DNA kind of thing. And so for me, I was working a corporate job, but also running our business, the accounting side of it on the side. And I'm a big self-learner, so I'm one that likes to take a look at what's going on and kind of educate myself. So it kind of bloomed that way, and our side business turned into, like I said, that thriving business. And both my husband and I had a passion for real estate. So in the mid-20s, we started, in like 2005, we started flipping properties ourselves. So it was just, it's interesting how the pieces of the puzzle, like when you look at your life and you look at how you start out and where you are now, I just want to encourage people to realize that you think some jobs you think are, they don't have much meaning, or, what's that going to, do for you later in life? It really is cool when you look at your bio later and you see all these different pieces fit together, and they make you, the skill sets you learn in your various different jobs really complement and make you the person that you are later in life. And that's kind of what I look at. A lot of the skills that I learned in my banking operations just kind of put me together to where I am right now, running Stone Bay Holdings on the operations side of it.
That's really interesting. And I tend to feel like I feel the same way if I'm ever, even when I was applying here to CamaPlan, it was kind of one of those things where I look back at my resume and I'm like, wow, all these random things from those summer jobs where like I worked in a fast food restaurant or I did this and that. It's like all these little things that I didn't think were building me skills actually were. So that's a great point to bring up. So for the two of you, how did you find each other? How did your partnership start? And how did you decide to create Stone Bay Holdings?
So I was actually at a company that I had left. I was bought out, and Kerry was there running the operations and building that company. And I left, and, I just knew that Kerry was extraordinary at what she did. And we had created a relationship there. And I literally, for 3 months, I started, building my portfolio at Temple University. And I had a lot going on. And Kerry didn't think I had a lot going on, but I told her someday we would have a lot going on.
True. Very true.
And, I just literally begged her to come. And I told her it was going to be a perfect ride in life, and it would be easy and it wouldn't be hard at all. And I was basically fibbing pretty bad, right, Kerry? And, after some time, Kerry thought about it. And, I think, Kerry, it took you about a month and a half to decide to join forces. And we became partners. And it's no doubt the best thing, us joining forces and building what we've built has been amazing. And there's just, I always tell everybody, I brag about it. I could have never done this where I am today as a person, just across the board. Not only is Kerry my partner, but we're amazing friends. I'm intertwined with her family, her husband, her kids. Her one son works for us. And, I wouldn't be where I am today without her. And it's been an amazing ride. We've had the downfalls, and we've created massive success today. So, that's how we met through another company, and we started together and we built Stone Bay together, and it's been great.
It's great. And how many years has it been now for you two?
Oh, so there's some questions you don't ask, Jessica. Kara, I guess we don't really have that pinpointed down, but I guess it's been about 13 or 14 years, right?
I don't think it's been that long, actually.
It feels that long.
I know it definitely feels a lot longer than it has been. But yeah, I think we're on our 11th year of knowing each other.
Well, 2012, what year are we in? That'd be 8 years since the one person left. So it was probably 3 years before that. Yeah, so I guess 11, 12 years, something like that.
That's awesome. And that, they say that lifelong friendships last more than 7 years. So it sounds like you two are going to be together for the rest of your lives. It's a healthy partnership.
Yeah, and that's what's astonishing, because we own, massive apartment buildings. We own large amounts of second mortgage portfolios, and we have a huge lending portfolio that we have. And people always go to us, how long you been doing this? And we're like, I don't know, 12, 13 years. And it's like, when I say it, it's like we've come so far to get as much assets we own in an organized fashion, and bring in the revenues, and the positive that we've put out there into the real estate world is just amazing for doing it for just 12 years. It feels like we've been doing it a lifetime. Mm-hmm. I remember a couple years ago, my cousin was like, I don't see him often. He was like, hey, how's that pizza shop going? I'm like, well, I left it like 13 years ago. I guess that pizza shop's actually out of business now, but I think it's pretty extraordinary what we've been able to accomplish together as a team over the past 12 years.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with that. Is there anything, to continue on the idea of partnership, is there anything that you two think that makes the partnership work for as long as it has? Or when you're looking for partners, anybody who may be trying to find a partner themselves to start investing with, things that make a great partner or things that work for compatibility like it does for you two?
I really think you have to base things on value. The integrity, value, Kerry and I, our visions are somewhat close together, but our ethics, our work ethic, our drive, knowing that we're going to get knocked down and we need to be there for each other. We've been through so many cycles of ups and downs and picking us up. Kerry, I think you agree. It's like most of the time when I'm up, I don't know how this works, but I'm up and you're down and I'm picking you up and I'm ready to jump off a bridge. And Kerry's like, nah, don't jump off the bridge yet. We'll be okay. But I really think you need to forget about the business, truly forget about the business that you're getting into and really look at the person that you're getting involved with in a partnership. That is, to me, it's way more important to do business with an amazing person, looking at the family oriented and the ethics and the charity that that person wants to do. Do they want to be involved in charity? Do you have all those similarities together? Because they're what makes up the person, right? And then that person you're going to go do that business with. But if you have an amazing purpose and you kind of are similar in those values, I think it's a big help when you build a company because you're building a culture from everything that you learned in the human being that you are, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense, yeah.
The other thing, Jessica, is that a lot of times what you want to do is both Steve and I say this, we encourage people to focus on their strengths. So many times people are trying to do everything. And that's, I think, another thing that really works for Steve and I is that his strengths are very different from mine, but through the years, we've kind of started to blend. And so the middle portion has gotten bigger. So if you think of a black circle and a white circle, right? And when you put them together, there's a little gray area. Mm-hmm. So the gray sliver is getting bigger and bigger as Steve rubs off on me and as I rub off on him. And so we are really very complementary to each other. I joke like salt and pepper go together, peanut butter and jelly. And that's the one thing that we really admire and appreciate about each other too. So I know what my limitations are. He knows what his are. And so we're really thankful and grateful for that the other one has skills that we don't necessarily have. And we know and appreciate how the beautiful picture all comes together. So when you're looking for somebody, for sure, I totally agree with Steve. It's got to be somebody that has the same kind of ethics that you do and that has skills that are complementary to you. Not the same, but they're going to complement and fill a void that maybe you have. And so when people look at Stone Bay Holdings, they see that. They see the combination of the two of us, and that's the kind of secret sauce, really, that we feel is there with Stone Bay.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for sharing. I think that that's really insightful, especially for people, as I was asking in the question, who may be, searching for someone else to start looking at themselves. What are my strengths? What's going to complement me? What's the person I want to work with? I think that's really helpful. So thank you both. So Steve, you mentioned earlier, so there were some, setbacks in the beginning or things like that you and Kerry both learned from. Are there any things that as partners or even as individuals that you ran into in terms of early successes or failures that you've had as an investor? And what lessons did you learn from those successes or obstacles that now inform the way you strategize today?
Well, we just got off of the topic of having a partner. And that's one of the number one mistakes I made in the beginning, choosing the wrong partners. I'm more of building a culture. And in the beginning, it was just choosing the wrong partners that, after, you get so far, the partnership kind of changes and we had different ideas. So that was a massive setback to choosing the wrong partners with the wrong chemistry. And that set me back. That set me back about $2 million. About 10, 11 years ago, I was actually about $2.1 million in debt because of bad partnerships. So that was a struggle, but that's where Kerry came in to, save the day. And just, there was many times that I was just like, I have no idea how I'm going to get back, $2.1 million and make that up and make a profitable company. I mean, This is the God's honest truth. I was playing more Powerball than anybody that I knew. Unfortunately, I did not win Powerball. We had to do it the old-fashioned way, but that's where the partnership I talk about so much is where it was Kerry's, her saying was just one bite out of the elephant. And it's extraordinary to look back now, Kerry, right? And you'd see that elephant and you just take a little bite out of it. And that's exactly how it worked out. I mean, it was just a little bit of time every 6 months, 2.2 million, we'd pay down 20 or 30 grand and 40 grand. And you know, the mental toughness that you had to have, you know, you make $50,000 in profit and you couldn't go buy what you wanted to do or buy that house I wanted to buy or certain things. Then I had to take that $50,000 and put it towards the 2.1 million. But then, you know, over time, you start to catch momentum. I talk about momentum a lot. You know, when you get some momentum, we call it mo, and you get that momentum, you just run with it. And by doing the ethical part and always doing what we say we were going to do, that got us to survive. Because through that hard time, our investors backed us. They supported us. They invested more money with us when they knew that we were struggling. A man came in and really helped us when I was in a bad situation. So the combination of the team that we grew. This is a team, you know, it's a culture and a team that you have to get through business and to get through life. I need to have that. And this person, he knew we were full disclosure, and we just talked about a little bit of bad, right, where I was. Mm-hmm. And then to talk about the good, this gentleman was an investor of ours, and I was upfront and told him where I was. And within, about a month, Kerry, he was our new partner. He invested a tremendous amount of money into the company to take care of those problems. And he stuck through it with us, and he believed in this, and he had no reason to, because we were not in good shape, or I wasn't in good shape, but it's more me than Kerry. And with the support from Kerry, the culture, doing what you say you're going to do, being advised by this gentleman who had just sold his company for a large amount of money, bringing everyone in together and saying how we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it. This person going and writing a super large check, not really knowing if we were going to get there. I said it would take 7 years, and those 7 years are up, and we've paid back all this debt, and we have extremely large profits. And where we were at Temple buying $300,000 buildings, it's kind of funny, isn't it, Kerry? Where we were, I remember thinking of Temple, it's like $300,000 bill. We don't even buy $300,000 properties anymore. You know, we're buying $15 and $20 million properties and, you know, $2 million properties. So, you know, it's one, having the culture, bringing everyone together, sharing ideas, working together. And that's what, you know, I can really say what is true success in my life, to have all these people support us.
I would just add is that, especially in this day and age, a lot of your listeners, look, one of the things we're all battling is social media, right? Mm-hmm. And social media, right. Social media can be a wonderful tool, or it can be a not so wonderful tool. And people can look like a rock star even maybe when they aren't. So I just recommend, you know, people take time to get to know someone. What you see on the surface may not be an accurate representation of who they are. And one of the cool things about entrepreneurs is we all leap, right? We're action takers. We do. And so we don't want to be told no. We just leap often before we kind of vet things out sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I would say with a partnership, that's one thing you don't want to just leap into. And you really want to make sure that that person that you see on the surface really is the person that you think they are. We all change over time. So the Steve Lloyd, you know, the Kerry Faix that I was when Steve and I first met is a very different Kerry Faix today. Life has changed me. Life has changed Steve. And those are beautiful, wonderful things, right? In long-term, you know, relationships. So that core of who I am is still the person that I am today. Mm-hmm. But taking time to make sure that that person you're seeing, don't make all your decisions based on what you think social media is saying about that person. And sometimes what's really cool too, where Steve and I are very complementary to each other, is that when we do meet people, he picks up on certain things and I pick up on other things. So we're able to that's one thing we've learned through the mistakes over the years, is to really appreciate that he's picking up on something that I didn't pick up on, or vice versa. And don't be afraid. So take a little bit more time. Don't be so quick to action sometimes, especially when a partnership comes into play, because you're with that person for the long haul. You're with that partner until the company ends or until you buy one out. And the last thing you want to do, there will always be some partnerships that just don't end, the best. You can't always make that not happen. Mm-hmm. But don't be afraid of it. But just take a little extra time to really make sure you know that person and their family and, how they handle things when the chips are down, right? One thing that's always been really good that I really appreciate about our partnership is that Steve and I don't go at each other when the chips are down. I really can't say over all these years that we've known each other ever once he's gone, well, that's because you didn't do such and such, and you should have done that, and I thought we should have done that. We really we're in it together, and the decisions that are made, we collectively agree to decide that they're both our decisions. So you really want that person in your corner when things aren't going the right way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you both make really outstanding points. I think it's really good for people to hear, especially in this age, like you were just saying, of social media, where a lot of people are probably doing their initial research online or on online forums or just researching investors on Instagram. I think that that's important to really not only do your due diligence with an investment, but do a due diligence with the people you're going to be partnering with or investing with. I think that that's great. I mean, I love the elephant metaphor, taking one bite of the elephant at a time. I think I'm going to start using that if I need to take a step back and slowly approach something that seems like a bigger problem. So I think that that's really helpful advice from both of you.
Well, I ate the whole elephant and I got pretty overweight, and now all my problems are solved, and now I'm actually lean and thin. So, Kerry, it's actually your fault that I got really chubby.
Yes, I hear that.
So is that a collective decision?
Now I don't really have any problems anymore, and I went back to being almost skinny again. So the cycle that we go through being an entrepreneur.
Isn't that
it is quite a cycle.
That is true. So thank you both for sharing that and for your candor on that. I want to talk some more about Stone Bay Holdings. So can you tell us about what does Stone Bay Holdings do? And can you describe a typical client of Stone Bay, what they can expect when they get involved in terms of investment opportunities or benefits or anything like that?
So Stone Bay is basically an investment firm where we raise capital from accredited investors. We buy reperforming mortgages, charged off second mortgages. We lend private capital to certain people, and we buy apartment buildings and mobile home parks. Apartment buildings are typically over 20 million. Mobile home parks are typically over 8 million. We actually have about 15 strategic partners that we partners with within these pillars. And I'll give you an example. We have two guys that we partner with that are always searching for apartment buildings. We will partner with them and we will put up the capital. We have about 10 guys that we lend private capital to on flips and things like that. And then we have one or two note people that they're always searching for notes, and we partner with them. And then through our investors, we're looking for a 5-year investment from them, and they must be an accredited investor to be able to invest in Stone Bay.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing. And do you want to talk some more about the relationship that Stone Bay has with CamaPlan, how you guys met Carl, and if you have any clients who participate in this type of investing with self-directed IRAs, what their experience is like?
Yeah, I mean, Carl and I have met from really the very beginning. About my first year in the real estate, I remember him meeting at a seminar, and he had a table set up, and obviously, it's one of the great things that happened to me was meeting Carl and learning about self-directed IRAs and what you could do with them. Fortunately, in my younger years, I was able to save a fair amount of money into my IRA, and meeting Carl, he educated me on what we could do with our self-directed IRA. And it's really been a focal point for me over the past 12 or 13 years that I've been doing this, because when you're in the raising capital game or in the real estate game, most people have more retirement money, IRA money, 401k money than they actually have than savings, because those savings are taking, they're your bills. There's a savings for a second home, or there's a savings for college education, where your IRAs and your retirement money is really there that you really can't touch until you're 59 and a half. So if you meet somebody that has money in CamaPlan that is, 35, 40, 50 years old, you're going to have that money to be able to use for a number of years. But just to be in the fact to be able to get out of the stock market and self-direct your IRA money for years, and you can pick the terms that you want. When you invest in the stock market, you're not picking your terms. You might like the company or the previous history, but you really can't dictate what you're going to make going forward.
Right,
and
exactly.
That's what I love about self-directed IRAs, because if you're a lender, you can predict your returns. And if if you want an 8 or 10% return, and that's what you're going to get, you can predict that. You can almost not quite guarantee it, but in so many ways you can have a good thought process that you're going to make that return over the next 10 or 15 years, and you'll kind of know what you'll have at retirement, and you don't have to, dip and dive into the downturns of, say, the stock market. So I used to hang out at the seminars. I became a lot of public speaking. Carl became a public speaker, and we would do a lot of events as I grew my company. And I would just really hang out at the Cama table, because what did I know? A lot of people were walking over to the CamaPlan table to move their money once they educated themselves with CamaPlan and self-directed IRAs. I knew they were taking away their money from Fidelity or Vanguard and going to self-direct it. And guess what? They need a place to invest when they get it over to CamaPlan. So, and then Carl and I's relationship just grew. I think of Carl, a mentor, brother. Whenever I had questions, his culture, what we were talking about earlier, the culture, the ethics, the integrity of the man that he is. It was a big brother that I could call and have questions as I was growing my portfolio. And just the people, the company CamaPlan that Carl has created is just amazing. Donna, Kerry, how long have we known Donna? I mean, she's always been there for us and got things done for us and has really helped us. So Carl's relationship, I made a video about a month ago, and I sent it to him and Vicky, just thanking them so much for being a part of my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's great. And I know that, when I had heard that you both were coming on, I heard your names a bunch of times. I'd heard Stone Bay a bunch of times. It's the general excitement from people who, whenever I'd bring up, oh, Kerry and Steve are coming on this week, just that general, oh my God, you're going to love them. They're great people. I think that the feelings are mutual. So, and I can honestly say, just hearing this, I think a lot of people at CamaPlan and you two over at Stone Bay, we all have a very similar idea of what a person in this industry should be like, or someone that you would at least want to work with in this industry should be like. So I think that that's really great. And I'm so happy that you two met and you hung out at the CamaPlan table.
Well, I think what's great about Kerry and I is we really just don't think about ourselves. I mean, both of us have the same passion to help new entrepreneurs without being paid. There's all these coaches and all this stuff going out there, and most of these coaches and these guys who are doing this really haven't created success themselves. A lot of this stuff is they're taking it from other people and trying to coach the stuff where, Kerry and I make the money through Stone Bay and our personal investments. And I know Kerry helps a lot of people in mentoring, and, it's getting to be on a daily basis for me, but through social media. But, almost every single morning I'm talking to, either a somewhat new entrepreneur or an entrepreneur that's halfway through the developing of their company, and we can really push them to reach their maximum limit. I mean, I was talking to a gentleman this morning, and to be able to help him, he's actually a coach, pretty successful coach, and I was honored for him. He wants me to coach him, but I will do it for free because I don't want to charge. It's part of giving back. Maybe someday we will. But it was just, the conversation was just like, he's been doing this for his company's been doing it for 3 or 4 years. And he's like, man, I know I'm getting close. I'm from the first year to the second year to the third year. He's like in his 5th year, and he's like, I'm starting to making money. And I'm like, look, man, you're into this 5 years. It takes 7 years. 6th and the 7th year is when you're really going to start making money. And most entrepreneurs need to hear that because they're exhausted by the 4th and 5th year. When is it going to happen for me? They always told me if I worked hard, got up early, stayed late, I would create success. But this is a long time, right? 5 years. But you got to help push them through to that 6th and 7th year for them really to create success. And look, 7 years is a long time period, but I think that's what, Kerry and our passion is turning to, helping and supporting these entrepreneurs that are going what we went through, right, Kerry?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to have a strong, resilient mind if you're going to be an entrepreneur, because it's not easy, and you're going to get knocked down an awful lot, and it becomes a game how quickly you get back up again. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that that's great, giving back to the investment community however you both can. And I think that you both clearly seem to give back a lot in terms of reaching out to these people or providing them with really helpful, probably continuing in terms of an investment life advice. And I think that that's awesome. So do you have any other stories or any other personal experiences with educating investors? Because I know you both have a pretty extensive background in doing that and helping your community in that way. Do you have any other stories that stick out in terms of, hey, this person became successful or had a turnaround and we were able to be a part of it and help them out in a way?
Well, let me just say this for a minute. We talk about, I think you brought up investors, and, we have about 180 investors that invest in our company. Mm-hmm. And I think the new word for me has been the past 2 years is creating a culture, and we know everybody. And one thing that we're extremely proud of is knowing mostly everyone's family, where they're from, what their investment strategies are, what their goals are. I hear the husband get on sometimes and I'm like, well, let the wife speak. She's the one that's going to be spending this money, right? And, I do most of the capital raising, and I might talk to the husband first, but then I really force that person to the husband and the wife be on the next call, so they both understand what is going on with their investment with Stone Bay and have that full disclosure and get them both to know Kerry and I. Investors want to know three things when they invest with us. They want to know who we are, they want to know what we're investing in, and they want to know when they're going to get their money back. Mm-hmm. And then the next stage is creating that culture, the relationship. And Kerry and I have been having a Stone Bay Christmas party for probably, Kerry, 8 years. It started in my house with like 35 people. Last year it was 190 people with a phenomenal dinner. Carl was actually there. Probably 50 or 60 or 70 Cama investors were there. And that's something that we're really proud of, because it is like no other party. I mean,
that sounds like fun. I wish I wish we could go to a party at any point now. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Really? Well,
it just made me really get excited for Christmas and then very nervous because of
I'm telling you, we're going to have this holiday party. I'm now living full-time in Siesta Key, Florida, which is the #1 beach in the country. And Kerry's going to be spending a lot of time here. So maybe we'll have a big culture party and you guys will be invited. But, that is the core of who we are that comes out of that party.
Yeah.
And it is truly amazing what that party and that holiday party has done for us. Right, Kerr?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the other key component to Stone Bay, and what makes it so special is that a lot of investment firms, they just, somebody starts investing and that's the end of it, right? They get their interest, or they get, it's just a transactional thing. That's not at all what Stone Bay is. It's a relationship. It's a family relationship. And so why so many of all of us enjoy that Christmas party is that it's like a family reunion coming back. Mm-hmm. And so people that didn't know each other before meet there. Like, we love it. We love this person who didn't know that one, and talking about what they've got going on and their investments. And, maybe they start investing in something else, not just Stone Bay. I mean, it's fantastic. And so it becomes like a highlight of the year that people look forward to for that reason.
Gotcha. I mean, I think you bring up great words here: culture, family. It creates a real sense of community. And you can tell, I mean, as leaders of and founders of a company, I think that those are words that should be coming out of founders' mouths. So I think that that's really awesome. And let's fingers crossed that the Christmas party is going to be able to get on a plane, come see you guys.
I mean, we even do it within the company, It's like Jen, someone that works with us and helps us build our company. She had Kerry, time flies, a baby 2 years ago. Kerry, I were both at the hospital the next day. getting involved with Jeff, and Gene has been with us for 10 years. We're just, as big as our company is, Kerry's son is now, Stephen Faix is now working with us for the past year. He just bought his first investment property. He's going to have a CamaPlan account soon. He's dollar cost average in the stock market, and he can't wait to have that self-directed IRA once he build this up. And, getting everybody involved that we're with and into real estate and giving them an opportunity to do and create what we have is it's pretty amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, it goes back to that cycle as an investor. That's like almost like the circle of an investor's life. There's always new people who are learning from people before them and things like that. I think that's incredible. You touch on a lot of things I do actually want to ask a couple of questions about. What is the process like for securing capital from private sources, or just in general, like the process of securing capital? It's, I've read about it, but I'm still not entirely sure I totally get it. So if you can break it down, that would be really helpful, I think.
Well, look, in the beginning, you have to create the foundation with anything. It's about getting started. And in the beginning, I used to speak at CamaPlan, and not really to raise money, but educating on them what they could do with their self-directed IRAs. Mm-hmm. So I remember when I was building Temple, I was doing a lot of private mortgages, first positions, and people were using their self-directed IRA. And then Carl, I was really busy. I mean, we were building 18 at one time. And Carl kept begging me to come and speak and teach investors how to securitize their money to a first position note and teach them how they're secured. And you go through the title company. And then as we built that up, and that really worked out well for me, that speaking engagements at Cama, they used to have this back room, I guess, 8-9 years ago. And then, but, if you understand it and how it works, the investor himself is basically, your marketing arm. So if you do everything that you say you're going to do, the greatest reward I can get is when an investor says, "Thanks, Steve, you've done everything that you said you were going to do." That just makes my shoulders go up, my chest go out, because it makes me feel proud that I'm doing the right thing. So, and then it kind of turned to not really going and finding new investors. It was really taking the investors that we already had and then spreading the word to their family and their friends and people that they knew. So that's the best referral we could get with somebody that was already investing with us. So really over the past 3 or 4 years, how many new investors that have I brought in? Very few, maybe a handful. It is really just, if you create the word culture and you do everything that you say you're going to do, that is your marketing arm for the people that are already investing with you. And I think I said earlier on the call in the interview that, look, they want to know who Kerry and I are. They want to know about us. Then we have to educate them on what we're investing in and why we're investing that and what areas of the country we're investing in. And there's always a reason and a story why we think those returns will be best for our company. And then we have to give them what's the cycle of them getting their money back. Because I know most investors, look, it's easy. It's not that hard to get money. It's hard to return money. So once you get those projects going, it's all about timing. So when most of our investors are investing with us for 5 years, we don't wait till 4 months and 10 months to start talking about an investor, whether they want to reinvest or they want their money back. We start in the final of the 4th year, going to the 5th. Do you like what's happening here? Do you think you want to reinvest? Do you think you would want your money back from your investment? So I don't want to be waiting till the last month and hear that 10 investors need their money back. This is not the correct way to do it. So it's all just a process and being patient. A lot of investors, don't get angry when someone tells you no. A lot of investors with money, they might talk to you in January, but they might watch you for 6 or 9 months or hear about you from someone else, and then they decide to invest with you. And for me, when I teach people like me how to raise capital, if you weren't able to get that investor to invest with you, you're doing something wrong, right? You're doing something wrong. Don't blame it on the investor for not investing with you. Blame yourself of what you did wrong and not showing them everything that you possibly could do for them. So when someone didn't invest with me, I'd be like, what did I do wrong? I need to fix something. So that's about improving yourself all the time to get the most out of your investor to understand in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's
Kerry,
a great
you want to add
point.
anything to that?
No, it's really is the relationships you build over time. And it kind of gets back to what we talked about earlier. Definitely vet somebody out when you're thinking about loaning money on a deal, right? You just don't meet this guy Joe, right, who says, "Oh, I have this deal that I want to flip and I need a private lender for," right? So some of your listeners may be, have money sitting there at Cama and they're wondering how they can become a private lender, right? So you're going to meet them at local real estate investment meetings and so forth. But it comes back to, don't just meet them one time. It's like Steve says, vet them out. Make sure you know who the person is. Really look the numbers over. So first thing you're always doing is you're loaning to the person. Even if the deal looks great, make sure you're comfortable with who the person is, and then you vet out the numbers and the investment. Is the investment opportunity right for you? Does what they're saying make sense? Do your own due diligence. And it's a great thing. Lots of people, it's very easy to do, and it's complimentary to both people, both to the flipper out there and to the person that has money to loan that has IRA funds.
Kerry, I know that there's investors that that wanted to invest with us, but we've turned them away, and we didn't feel that it was the right fit. It's basically like, in a weird way, I'm actually interviewing the investor today.
Mm-hmm.
What they're looking for, what kind of returns would they like. I basically today I kind of like interview them to see if they fit investing with us today. Though it's kind of crazy. In the beginning, I was like, somebody just please give me money.
Right. It's flipped. Yeah.
And today it's kind of flipped. I really interview, where's their money coming? How much do they want to invest? The rate of return they're looking for. There's a lot of things that come into this. Do they want to be active or passive with us? They don't get a whole lot of say in the fund. So I want to make sure that the right fit and they fit into our culture, or I'll just be returning their money and we'll have an unhappy investor. So there is a lot of things, but you learn that over time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea that a lot of these questions are all coming back to the same idea of relationship, integrity, knowing yourself, knowing your people. And I think that for newer investors or younger investors too, that's huge. People aren't necessarily thinking about that, especially at a younger age. I know, I think about people I even look back at and I'm like, why was I friends with them? You just learn as you keep going. So I think that this is going to be really helpful for people. Now, you guys have talked about Temple a few times. So I want to hear some more about the story, if you can, about the work you've done on, I believe it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, rehabbing student housing in the Temple University area. How did you guys come about that? How has that evolved? Are you still involved with it?
It's gone, sister. It is going, gone. So, that was, the big start for the big real estate that I got involved in. Did those 13 properties, built, I don't know, Kara, maybe 50, 60 buildings there, sold them off, kept 30 over the past 10 or 11 years. But with the transition of Philadelphia, the tax abatements ending, just Philadelphia is pro-tenant, doesn't really help the entrepreneur. I just have a sour taste with the city of Philadelphia. With Temple, it's been good. It's been great. We had 10-year tax abatements. We were able to, rehab this with private lenders. After we would use private lenders to buy the shell, bring in the money to rehab. We'd get it built. We'd fill it up with tenants and students actually, and then the parents would co-sign. It was really great. And then we would go to the bank and pay back our investors, and then we would get long-term financing on it. And, we did one, we did two, and we kind of get addicted to it. And it was a real easy process. The banks really liked it because we weren't going to them in the beginning of the process. We were going to them at the end of the process when we had the co-signers, when we had the students in there, after we already had the revenue coming in. So the banks loved us and made the process very easy for us to get bank financing. But today, the world is changing. And about a year ago, I made a decision with my current partners to start selling Temple because we've gone on to, really large apartment buildings, mobile home parks, pools of notes, and student housing just isn't there for me anymore. So we're actually selling our whole portfolio. I think, Kerry, we have about 9 or 10 properties left, maybe.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about, something to touch upon too for your listeners is that sometimes what you get started in, you pivot and change throughout time, right? And so our identity started at Temple, and it was really cool, incredible thing that was going on for like a good, almost 10 years. We were building and growing, and it was really neat. We were doing like Temple tours. So there was always a different stage of development going on down at Temple when we were in the height of building the portfolio down there. So we could take investors down there and they could see a project that was just getting ready to break ground. You could take a project that was like in the same tour, they'd see something that was maybe midway through construction. Then they'd see another property that had already been developed and we had tenants in place. So people got a good feel for what we were doing down at Temple. And we, our engine, we were rocking and rolling, and things were going really well. And any business owner, entrepreneur really needs to pay attention to the times and be willing to pivot and change and turn when necessary. And then, Temple was a big part of our identity, and it wasn't an easy decision at first, right? Because it's kind of the core of who you are. Mm-hmm. But once we sat and looked at it and evaluated the situation, and now here we are, even through COVID, still selling properties. There's a lot going on down there. It's a great investment for somebody. It just isn't the right investment tool for us any longer, for where our companies are. So just always keeping your mind open. Don't always stay so stuck in your thinking that this is who I am. Be willing to change as the times change. Be willing to see that there are, other opportunities down the road, and maybe you mature and grow as an entrepreneur in your business, and it doesn't make sense anymore, which is where we are with Temple right now.
That's one good thing that Kerry I've done. I think we've done a great job of always progressing forward. We've never been satisfied of where we are. We're always meeting new people. We're always meeting new opportunities to do bigger deals. I mean, we had a deal, 3 years ago that really changed our lives. And it was a partnership with two people. And we actually were able to bring a substantial amount of capital. I just never, ever thought Steve Lloyd, Kerry Faix, Pizza Shop would be buying a $27.5 million, apartment building. And I'm going, Kerry, when we bought this thing, it's like we just put up like $5.5 million or $5 million. I'm like, we own a 568 unit apartment building, right, Kerr? It's like, this is crazy. Like, who are we? This is amazing. And then in 1 year, we sold it and our lives changed forever. Not that we weren't doing really good, but it was just pushing ourselves all the time to look at opportunities and new business partners and new investors and adapting and letting things go that you start with. And maybe you were doing 3-4 years ago, learning, adapting, and growing. Learn, adapt, grow.
Yeah.
And that's what Kerry and I are in Siesta Key. We have 8 units in Siesta Key, valued at about $5 million. We have people coming from all over the world to vacation with us. We're getting our loans done. Everything's good. Kerry was I'm down here full time, but Kerry was just here a couple weeks ago for almost 2 months. And, we were able to go in wave run, enjoy some of the things that we've worked so hard for. But really, we love the VRBO vacation rental product that Vrbo and Airbnb has. And then from Kerry and I knowing so many people from across the country, all these people are coming to visit us and stay at our properties, 50 yards away from the beach. How did that sound? Was that a good commercial? To the number one beach in the company with Powdery
Yeah, you sold me. Honestly, I started daydreaming in the middle of that. I was like, I want to be at the beach.
The number one beach in the country. Here we are. It's kind of crazy to think when we were taking bites out of the elephant, we would end up here. We got wave runners and we got a pool to jump into, and our investors are coming here. People that I used to be big in network marketing, they're coming here to visit. And it's just kind of like a little fantasy, but it's pretty darn cool. I have to keep pinching myself and Kerry, Steve, calm down, Steve, calm down, come back down to reality. I'm like ready to take over the whole they're starting to call me the mayor of Siesta Key here. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he truly is. If not, he's certainly the mayor of the one street that we own a fair amount of properties on.
Listen, one bite of the elephant. He's on his way to being mayor of Florida.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Definitely. It sounds like you need a lot of work on that, Steve.
He does. I really have to pull him out hard.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for being so candid and for sharing that with us. I think a lot of listeners are going to find value in that answer and understanding that it is okay to let go. I think that is one that helps people's growth and they don't even realize it. So I think that that's huge. And thank you for sharing that. One question I do have for both of you, it's a little bit more personal, a little more fun. Have you read anything recently, any books or watched anything on TV that you found interesting, or, hey, this is somehow I found a way to relate this to the way that I look at investments? Or have you picked up on any tools or lessons from them? Or is there anything that you use that's like a continual source that you go back to keep up with your knowledge of investing?
Yeah, you know what? It's not necessarily investing, but The Compound Effect with Darren Hardy and The One Thing, they're two really fantastic books that I go back to often, because as I was really in the throes of we're building these companies and there's just so much stuff going on, the foundation of what you do every day, the routines you build, are really how you build the successes later on. And so the compound effect was really great for me, because that's like where Steve brought up about the elephant. It was probably about when I was reading that book that came out to me, because the compound effect shows you that it's these small, little, inconsequential things that you do day after day, and you might not see any change, but over time, they make these big, lasting changes. And it really hit me hard, and I've totally seen it in my life. So even for investing, where Steve talked about an investor being dollar cost averaging or these little things, no, you're not going to make big money right out of the gate. But if you make a determination that you want to, retire by a certain age, or you want to, whatever your financial goal is, you have a goal to pay to, for me, it was send my kids to college.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're starting to get married, buy their homes, things like that. I really had a vision and a dream for those things. And so you have to first start there. You're not going to achieve that financial goal in a week, in a month, in a year. It's going to be over the long haul. And it is that momentum. So those little things, those little decisions that you start making every day, put a couple bucks aside, keep an investing tool that's over here that you're just not touching, whatever it is you choose to do, stick with it. And it is really cool to watch the momentum kick in when you start, you hit that first little goal. Oh, now I've got 5,000. Now I got 25. It really does build upon itself. And those two books were really, really ones that I recommend to everybody. And I even pull out myself sometimes to kind of reground me.
So I'll talk about something that I've been working on for the past year, and I came across this audio, which is change your habits, change your life. And if you're not happy of what you're doing when you wake up in the morning, you're in the habit to maybe getting a cup of coffee and not working out. You're in a habit to just getting on the internet and not getting your health in order, or you might not be happy with your business, and you get in a routine, you get into a habit, and your habits really create who you are. Think about what you do in the morning, think about what you do in the afternoon, think about what you're doing at night. And if you're not creating success in your life, that means you need to concentrate on changing the habits that you've been doing for so long. So I started to listen to this, and it's just amazing how if you need to change that habit of just drinking coffee in the morning and taking a walk, you need to change that habit that you have of checking your emails a half hour after you wake up in the morning. And if you can change your habits, and some of these habits you have in your life, I thought about it. All the things I do is habit, because I'm so used to doing the same routine all the time. In this past year, I've really changed my habits, what time I get up. I'm up at 4:30 every morning, and now it's a walk, it's a bike ride, it's a jog. I'm actually jogging. This is crazy, right? Jogging.
Wow, yeah.
I hate it. I was jogging
Yeah.
yesterday morning. I'm going, I hate this. But when I got done, I felt so good. So one of the things I do is I worked on concentrating on my routine during the day and what I'm doing in the morning, day and night. And it's really benefiting my life. So change your habits will change your life. And it's been beneficial for me. And then Kerry, we were talking about the other night about Glenn Stearns, right? I think people should start following this guy. He is actually a phenomenal guy who Kerry was watching the TV show like 6 months ago. Do you remember what it was called, Kerry? Secret
Undercover
Billionaire. And I was just
on
like,
CNBC.
I was just like, Undercover Billionaire. Like, what's this about? I watched one episode. I was like, this is boring, right? But it just, when I started to learn about the man, not about the show, the man is amazing. Like, oh my gosh, I sit there and watch this and I see me and Kerry in this man of the caring, the giving, the culture that he built in his company. He sold his company for $1 billion. And then one of the things that he's so upset about is that a BlackRock, a huge equity firm, bought the company and hacked it all up. And it really just hit him in his soul. He was just like, I wish I would have never sold the company, because all his friends and family that came to that corporate office, most of them lost their jobs or got separated. And it really hit his soul. But then he also, Kerry, correct me if I'm wrong, the guy got cancer, right? And that changed his life. And he had all this money, but he had cancer. You know, it reminds me of one of my dear friends and Kerry's dear friends, what we learned from other entrepreneurs. You know, Tony Perry is one of our dear, dear friends. And, you know, learning how to adapt in life is the key. I mean, this guy was the #1 builder in Georgia. You know, he went bankrupt for the downturn in 2013. He never gave up. A little guy like me, you know, 10 years ago when I was just starting out, I helped him learn how to raise private capital. He started building, started to create wealth again, got cancer, right? Had 28 rounds of chemo, right? The life, just so many lessons. I get so emotional, so much emotions in building, you know, companies and relationships, and always doing the right thing when no one's looking. That's the key to success, I'm telling you. Do the right things when no one's looking. And Tony and Carl and Dave Van Horn, Brian Adams, you know, the core of we are very lucky to be surrounded by people that I've met through Cama that do the same thing we do. And we have an amazing community of people that we can be there for them when they're up and down, because it's hard. I mean, entrepreneurs, this is the backbone of the country, right? I mean, if you're a W-2 employee, you work for an entrepreneur, and they have no idea. You know, most people don't have any idea the struggles that an entrepreneur has to go through. So I get emotional because it's hard.
Yeah, it's really moving to hear that. And I think that it puts a lot into perspective that everybody at the end of the day is a person, and that there are those struggles that you just don't know about behind the scenes sometimes.
It's hard when you get to the top. I mean, Kerry, feel like we're at the pinnacle of our investing and everything's great, but it's still hard, right, Kerry?
Oh, absolutely. Look, we're all in this world together right now, as we keep being told in all sorts of avenues. But yeah, COVID has changed things forever for a lot of industries and for a lot of people. And we've all had to, even people that aren't entrepreneurs, everybody is learning to adapt and change and grow. Those people who choose to see an obstacle and a roadblock as an opportunity to grow are the ones that move past it. The ones that choose to see it and get stuck there and feel like, oh, woe me, and there's nothing I can do. Well, then the longer you're going to stay there. So that's where Steve and I just really, where he said about when he's up, I'm down, he's up, and so forth. That's what we just keep reminding each other, you know, come on, move past it, help each other to see this obstacle in a different light. And I just would encourage your listeners, as we're winding down, keep people in your circle. You're hearing Steve talk about it. It's the people we surround ourselves are going to be the ones. You want people in your inner circle that are going to lift you up when you're down and help you, motivate you, encourage you to get out of that sticky situation, that thing that's got you drowning or making you feel down, and help pull you up and get you out, instead of the ones. And that's what Steve and I have. We've got a core group of strategic partners who we love and who we can rely on and count on us, and they give us the kick in the butt when we need it. Believe me, they're not telling us, oh, whoa, you. They're going, come on, Kerry. Come on, Steve. I don't want to hear you complaining. What are you going to do about it? Do something. Take action.
Thank you both so much for being here today and for sharing all these stories and all of your insights and so many, I think, valuable keys for people, not only for building wealth and unlocking financial freedom, but just for building themselves as a person, as an investor. I think that people are going to have a lot of takeaways from this when they get to listen. One question we do ask everyone before we sign off is, how can people reach you both? Do you have websites or social media? I know social media that listeners can use to get in touch with you.
The best way for me is my Instagram, Kerry Faix, via Instagram.
They can find me on Facebook, IM me. There's no doubt anybody who wants to find me, they can find me pretty fast.
Great. Well, thank you both so much again. I really appreciate you both coming on and being here and for being so candid and open and vulnerable with us today.
Yep. Thank you so much, Jessica and CamaPlan, for everything that you guys have done for us.
Yes, thank you all. Tune in again, everyone who's listening, to hear more from our experts who have paved their roads to financial freedom. You can tune in again next week, or you can call CamaPlan today to learn more about how you can start to take control of your future wealth. Thanks, everyone.